So tonight's presenter, my partner here at Ackerman Group, Rich Lester. Rich brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise from throughout the veterinary profession. Founder of a corporate group, CEO of Ackerman Group. A lot of knowledge, and so we're really excited to have him join and share what we've learned over the last quarter with all of you.
And thanks everyone for attending tonight. I feel like there's a lot of interest because, in particular, the last 2 weeks with the new Trump administration, there's just been a lot of activity in Washington, a lot of changes, and how will that impact both the economy and the veterinary services market? If I knew the answer to that, I wouldn't be doing this, but I will give you my perspectives on it. And there's a lot of things going on globally and in Washington that will impact how veterinary services and how veterinary practices are valued. And so the Fed policy really has worked, but we've now hit sort of this plateau, both at interest rates and on inflation. Plus, there's starting to be some easing in interest rates, and lower short-term rates is good for the veterinary market. They borrow money based on short-term interest rates. And so when rates went through the roof here, borrowing costs went up, valuations went down. So we're 2 weeks in, the markets have responded somewhat positively to the events of the first 2 weeks. Stock market's up slightly, and more importantly, long-term interest rates, which had sort of spiked a bit in early January, have actually softened over the last 2 weeks. They're down about 10 basis points. So overall, markets historically have preferred stability and predictability. I don't think we're going to see that over the next 4 years. So the overlay, when we think about the US economy on what's happening to the veterinary services market, is we have a bit of unpredictability over the next couple of years, likely as an overlay into what's going on in our particular market. And I think the most important trend for everyone to really understand is what you see circled here on the graph. Invoice growth, but if this chart extended back to 2011 or 12, you would see pretty consistently that invoices grew 0.5% to 1.5% almost every quarter, and revenues grew 4 to 6% a year. And so the advice we've been giving to folks is, if you think you want to sell in the next 2 years, I would do it now. I think that there's risk that valuations go down if invoice growth doesn't return by later this year or early next. If you're going to hold your practice for more than 2 or 3 years, I think it's so hard to predict what will happen to the market. If you're not a producer and you've built a business where you're not producing, you can get out much sooner than 3 years. I didn't mention this in a lot of detail, but there is a bifurcation in the market. Each bar here shows, like in 2020, we sold clinics to 14 different companies. 11 of them in blue were brand new. What has surprised us is in 23, we had 7 new buyers. In 24, we had 3 new buyers. And so this is sort of highlighting that there's just, the market evolves. The economy is stabilizing, but it's really unclear what the new administration is going to do to the economy, with lots of things in flux right now. The veterinary market is in sort of it's in a down period, just to be blunt. We haven't gone back to pre-COVID rates of invoice growth. Will that happen in 25? Unclear. But despite that, valuations, especially at the high end of the market, are strong. And buyers have been less stingy with cash. And so we keep calling it, I think over the last 3 months and the next 6 months, we're at this inflection point where fundamentals are weak, valuations are strong. How long does that contradiction remain in place? Unclear. So finally, before I go to questions, at Ackerman Group, we run a conference the last 2 years called Insightful.vet. It's going to be November 13th to 15th in Dallas. It is the only owners-only conference in the industry, only practice owners. We have no trade show floor. We feed folks really well. And we have 2 days of content that relate to 60 to 70% of the content is about how to manage your practice better. And about 30% of the content is around sale process, deal structures. So we invite any of you to go to insightful.vet and potentially sign up for that.